Hello, good morning, welcome at the Decarb Cities 2025. We are very honored and distinct that we were given the chance to co-organize this event. Welcome in Kraków, in Małopolska region, at the AGH University. Let me show you some slides on our university. We have the background in the heavy industry. Our origin is mining and metallurgy, but our research was always focused on responsibility for the environment. So let me first introduce one of our former rector. You can see his figure over here. His name was Valery Gettel. He was professor of geosciences, and he was a pioneer in the sustainable development, ecological thinking. For example, he once said that what the technology has broken in the context of environment, the technology should repair. So this is the activities we should do during our conference. He was the rector of AGH between 1945 and 1950, so in the most difficult period of time when we were developing after the Second World War. Please, if you will have some time, try to read some information about this unique person. And now going to the AGH. Okay. Should I do something to change the slides with this remote control? Oh yeah, but it's the last one. So I have to go back to the first one, sorry. Okay, now you've seen all of it, so I can finish. Okay, so we are here in Poland, of course. The southern part of Poland is called Małopolska region, which can be translated as a small Poland, smaller Poland, and within its capital, Kraków, at AGH University. Kraków is a former capital of Poland, second biggest city in this country, and we consider ourselves as a cultural and historical center of Poland, but also the academic center. We've got 8 public universities, including the Jagiellonian University, the oldest university in Poland, founded in 14th century, one of the oldest universities in Europe, but also 12 private universities, and together we host something like 200,000 students. We also are, as a Kraków economic center, we've got the industrial park for developing startups. Here are some photographs showing the beauty of our city and the region. Here is the main market square with the cloth hall and the city hall tower, the Wawel Castle, the main chapel in the Wieliczka salt mine, and the carpet of flowers in the Tatra Mountains. Our university has over 100 history. It was founded in 1919, just after the First World War. It was opened by the Chief of State Józef Piłsudski, but in the 1913, the Austro-Hungarian Emperor Francis Joseph I approved the establishment of Mining Academy in Kraków. You have to note that before the First World War, we wasn't the independent country. We regained our independence after the First World War. In 2022, we changed our English version of name as AGH University of Kraków in recognition that we are the full university having different field of sciences, not only the technical one. But in Poland, we still are Akademia Górniczo-Hutnicza, which can be translated as an Academy for Mining and Metallurgy, because it's a good brand in Poland. Although we are a very innovative university, we still cherish our traditions. As you can see here, we've got some photographs from the inauguration of academic year, but also for the miners and metallurgists days ceremonies. These are the celebration of Santa Barbara and St. Florian, which are the patrons of these occupations. Facts and figures, we are still growing. We've got right now 18 faculties, including the last one, the newest one, the Space Technology faculty. We have something like 20,000 of students and 2,050 academics. And we offer for our candidates 81 programs of study and more than 200 specializations for graduation. During this 100 years of history, we sent to industry more than 250,000 alumni. Here's the structure of the university. You've got here all 18 faculties. As you can see, we pretty much cover entire technical field of science, but also the general sciences like mathematics, physics, and material sciences, and we've got also the Faculty of Humanities. From the very beginning, our motto was Labora creata, laboriet scientiae servio, which can be translated as created by labor, you serve to the labor and knowledge. And we always try to cooperate with industry, trying to make the activities which will be useful for the society. AGH University is right now a technical university with one of the main innovative fields of research in Poland, but we still are within these basic activities like mining and metallurgy, so the critical resources, critical materials, raw materials excavation, and pre-producing them. But also, as you can see, one of our goals is to produce energy in the environmental friendly manner. Here are some details about our activities, and as you can see, everywhere here we have this environmental responsibility visible. I promise you this presentation is a general presentation for AGH. I didn't prepare it specially for this event, so it means we care. Yeah. AGH University follows, according to the education, the Bolognian system. We've got the 2 stages of study, the bachelor and the master one, and of course the doctoral school, and we've got wide range of postgraduate studies. We are very flexible for our students, offering them a lot of activities that help to graduate within our university, which is not so easy because the technical sciences are much more difficult to study, as you probably know, than any other things. So we help them to regain to obtain their right level in mathematics, physics by the year 0 courses and things like that. Here are some photographs showing the unique equipment we've got. Two of these photographs present the supercomputers that are devoted to our researchers, but also the students. We've got at AGH 3 supercomputers noted on the top 500 list. Also, we've got a lot of unique equipment like microscopes, robots, and things like that. We are very proud of the activities of our students, especially in area of space research. As I already told you, we've established a new faculty for the space technologies, And we are part of the Universech, which is a European Space University for Earth and Humanities, together with universities from France, Luxembourg, Sweden, and Germany. AGH, as I told you, as it comes from our motto and mission, is always very devoted to technology transfer, so we are trying to be useful for the industry, for the economy. We incubated more than 30 startups that are growing right now. We have the Kraków Center for Innovative Technology in AGH, and we've got partnership with Kraków Technology Park. Right now we are also an organizer of the NATO incubator unit called Diana. What is unique about AGH is also its campus. We are located in the very center of Kraków, not more than 1.5 kilometers from the main market square, or even closer. Within these 2 blocks, we've got entire university, including the dormitories for students, which is also very unique in the scale of Poland. We can accommodate more than 10,000 students, offering them many attractions, and we call it like a student city. Yeah. We are still growing. In last 15 years, we developed more than 20 large constructions, large buildings. Please note that we've got here Center of Energy. It's a huge investment that was supposed to connect the academia and energetic industry. You will have a chance to listen to its director, Professor Wiesław Nowak, in the next panel. Here are some other buildings that we can offer to our students, like a swimming pool, fitness center. We've got right now the new developed sports center, but also the entertainment hall, and which is important, center of new energies in the Miękkinia. It's a nearby village. And we also got our own palace in Moszowa. It's right now under restoration, so we do not have the photograph over here. And besides hard studying, the students have the possibility to be active on many other fields, like in the radio or sports associations, scientific associations, music, and things like that. We try to build a full environment just to keep them happy during this study period. And pretty much that's everything. I hope, as Professor Gettel said, during this conference, you will develop some technical solutions that will repair our environment, that will help decarbonize our cities. And I wish you inspiring talks during this conference, very meaningful discussions, and I hope you will have very nice memories from AGH, from Kraków. I consider the Decarb Cities 2025 as open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my name is Paul Kenny. I'm the Director General of the European Heat Pump Association. I'm very delighted to be here in Kraków as well. And thank you very much to the city for hosting us and the Polish presidency. We're running this conference today in partnership with the Polish Heat Pump Association, Port PC. So thank you very much to Paweł and Małgosia for helping us prepare today's conference. And also thank you very much to our sponsors, Daikin, Panasonic, and Turbodyn, who have really come on board and sponsored us, but also to Carel, Mitsubishi, and Quantum, who've also been a great supporter of European Heat Pump Association events. So maybe a little bit to talk a little bit about why we are here today and what is Decarb Cities about. And the concept really is to bring cities together under kind of this idea of the multi-level governance, as we often call it, but where local, national and European levels can come together and understand the challenges from the bottom up, but also from the top down, and try and engage people to solve problems. So it is interesting. We have all of these cities across Europe in the 100 climate neutral cities, including Dublin, where I used to spend a lot of time. And those cities have all embarked on a path to lead their own transition. And Decarb Cities is about this transition, and we'll hear a lot more about that shortly. But one of the things that's also very important is this idea where you have to come up with the ideas and solutions on your own at a local level. And that is true, but we also need to make sure that we learn from everyone else and learn from people who are failing and learn from people who are succeeding. Because I often feel that the big challenge in life is to figure out, when you failed, how do you learn from that failure and pick yourself up and try again and again and again and fail less and then eventually succeed. And innovation, whether it's for mining in the past or renewables in the future, innovation requires a certain level of failure, and it requires people to try beyond their comfort zone and to really try and push the boundary and fail in such a way that you succeed eventually. And I think when we think about what's going on at a city level in all of our European cities and even global cities, it's really about understanding how we can learn to work together. And as part of that, and we'll talk a little bit more about this over the day, I think it's important to recognize we have a challenge in deployment of heat pumps in Poland, and that challenge is around changing subsidy schemes. And we have those same challenges are currently happening in some markets, have happened in the past in other markets, and will happen in the future in other markets. And I think collaboration and understanding how things do well and do badly, and how we learn from each other and change and amend is really part of what Decarb Cities is all about. And one of the things that I think is really important, sometimes there are individuals in cities, individuals in companies that are putting a lot of their personal leadership to drag a change in their organization. And we all know those people, and a lot of us here today are those people. And sometimes we need to recognize those people need some help and need to feel they're in kindred spirits and feel they're in a position where they can now meet their equals and talk to people who are also coming through the same struggles. So that's maybe a little bit of what Decarb Cities is all about, to try and support those leaders at a local level. Many of you in the room know the European Heat Pump Association pretty well. We have about 230 members. We represent the entire value chain of heat pumps, from manufacturers, but also testing industries, national associations, research communities, and component manufacturers and so on. So it's much more wholesome or collective of the Heat Pump Association world. We also have some utilities and consultancies that support the delivery of heat pumps across Europe. We also work with some other organizations around the world, particularly ARENA and the IEA and some of the Japanese technical centers, to try and support the global effort around the deployment of heat pumps. So we have a little bit of a bad picture up to 2024. I think early 2025 we're starting to see some positive noises. But maybe just a reflection, after a decade of growth, we saw a very bad year in 2024. I hope it's not a reflection on my entry into the world of the Heat Pump Association. But I think it's, we think about the movement of society, which really focused on climate as a key challenge in 2018, 19, and 20, the war in Ukraine, trade wars, the need for the need to really secure energy systems. And some of those have unsettled consumer confidence. We saw big inflation across Europe. We saw changes in support schemes, and we saw high electricity prices versus gas. And all of those things have affected consumer confidence and have therefore affected the investment in heat pumps. So we need to think about sometimes the fundamentals in that, but also how we spring ourselves back out of that. We see one country bucking the trend, but we really see the big changes in support schemes and consumer confidence having the big impact. But that general trend across Europe, I think, has a collective around the high price of electricity and has a collective underpinning around consumer confidence and inflation. And what we see is the larger countries that generally represent most sales. We see where France has traditionally been an electric country, driven by a very strong nuclear industry, sees quite significant sales. So we are seeing the growth of heat pumps still, even though the decline in sales. But I think one of the things that's really important to reflect on is we see countries where the biggest heat demand is the places where we see the biggest heat pump demand, particularly where you've got lots of electricity, clean electricity. And I see that graph, and I think about that graph, and I think about it as opportunity, because particularly in the lower percentage heat pumps in the market, we see this huge opportunity for the transformation. And we see that in Poland, we see that in the UK, we see it in Germany. And we see lots of opportunity for sales. So I think the future is bright, but maybe the current is not quite as bright as it could be. And one of the things that we see, we have this European target of 60 million heat pumps by 2030 as part of the Repower EU target. And if we continue that trajectory of growth in 2023, we might have been on track, but we're not quite on track, and we need to reverse this trend. And we see the trend where we currently are is based on 2024 sales is not going to hit 40 million, and we really need to get a rapid increase in that. There are some very positive things in terms of European policy, which hasn't really been implemented yet. The directives, ETS, the major directives in energy over the last few years, those directives are yet to be implemented at a national level and are yet to really feel the impact at a local level. And those directives are designed to push those graphs upwards. I think just to reflect on something that is key to what we are thinking about in Europe in terms of energy security, we've made a big difference in the amount of gas we bring in from Russia over the last 2 years. However, the job is not done. Last week, the European Commission announced a plan to get off the remaining fossil fuels or particularly gas from Russia. But what was really disappointing to see in that, it was based on supply and not demand. And we know very specifically we can remove the demand for gas, and therefore the worst from a geopolitical security point of view, gas, with the installation of heat pumps. And the plan really only focused on supply, and I think that was a strategic error from the Commission. And generally speaking, they don't make that many strategic errors, but I think it's really important to say half of our energy used in the EU is used for heating, and most of that still relies on fossil fuels, and therefore it is a key function. If we ignore heating and we don't think about energy security for heat energy security, we will not get secure energy supplies. And if we think about where the growth is, the red part of that, we have to wonder sometimes how secure some of our LNG imports are. And we do obviously have some very secure and friendly neighbours who supply us energy, but that should not be relied on only for security. So one of the contentions that I would like you all to think about is, if you wish to have secure energy systems, you need to reduce the amount of gas for heating. If you're going to do that, you need a heat pump. And therefore, it's very easy to bring the two things together and say, without rapid deployment in heat pumps, we will not have secure energy systems. The IEA produced a recent graph that said, of the reduction in EU gas imports from Russia, the heat pump had a substantial part to play. And it's a substantial part to play that we need to make sure our policymakers see, and we need to make sure that we act on. And it's really important that that we push on this agenda where we replace gas use with heat pumps to decrease our energy security challenge. What do we need to do? This is a graphic that we produced recently for really with the Brussels focus. We need to put clean heat at the center of our energy security debate. We have not. We produced this before the plan came out last week, and it was really quite disappointing to see that clean heat wasn't put at the center of European policy. We need to reduce electricity prices. The Commission do have an energy affordability action plan which focuses on this, so it is good to see they have that message. We need stable regulatory frameworks, both at a European level but also at a national level. And we need to see those frameworks that rapidly support the rapid increase of heat pump supply. And finally, the debate around European supply of technology is one that is raging across many capitals, no different here than other countries, and we need European demand for European supply chains. Regardless of whether a company is origin here or origin somewhere else, if they manufacture here, they support our economies. And we have somewhere between 60 and 75% of European deployed heat pumps manufactured in Europe. So we already do this, but what is happening right now is we have decreasing European markets and increasing Asian markets, which is allowing the volumes of supply increase and get more competitive. And if we want our factories to be competitive, they need to be running at full tilt, not idle. So we need European demand for European supply. And that is a key to boosting the competitiveness of the European heat pump supply chain. Maybe just to talk a little bit about a different message. I spent a week in Katowice in 2019 as part of a European Commission expert mission around the renovation of homes and buildings for clean air. And clean air is a key driver, obviously, in many European countries. It was a driver of a lot of policy work I did in government in Ireland. But it is critical here. We see that Poland has some of the most challenging air quality in Europe, and we see a lot of actions, particularly in Kraków. You've taken a lot of actions in terms of improving the air quality here. When we look at your own clean air strategy, it is about the deployment of heat pumps to clean up the air. So when we take the driver of energy security, when we take the driver of competitiveness, and we take the driver of clean air, we see the same answer at the end of all of these. However, I think it's maybe reflecting, this is a chart from Port PC recently about the decrease in heat pump deployment in Poland, and that's not a pretty picture. And changing subsidy schemes and restricting the ability of Polish consumers to use the best certified equipment has a very negative impact in the market. And if your own strategy for cleaning up your air and your own strategy for securing your energy supplies, as well as kind of the European strategies, all point in one direction and your subsidy schemes do the opposite, it does not impact in a way that is sufficiently beneficial. So I think we need to reflect on some of those things. One of the things that I mentioned earlier on about Decarb Cities is about trying to get people to work together. I worked in Ireland many years ago, and we had exactly the same challenges of poor installations, of installers who didn't effectively design systems, so consumers did not get effective installations. The same challenges happened across France, happened across other markets, and every ministry has had the same challenges and had to put in place the same quality control schemes, the same support schemes, the same training schemes, the same capacity building schemes to ensure consumers are protected and get what they pay for. And it's really important that we work together to try and identify those challenges and solutions. And when we look across Europe, we see for residential heat pumps on the right in blue, most countries have some form of subsidy scheme because governments understand the climate, the competitiveness, the energy security, and the clean air benefits of the transition from dirty to clean. And all of those support schemes will have the same challenges as you have in every single town and village in Poland and city, the same as they have it in France and Germany and Ireland and the UK and everywhere else. So it is important that we think about those. There are lots of different types of supports. There's lots of different targeted programs. But what's most important, that it's consistent, it's long-term, it has certainty of funding, and that when companies decide they're going to switch from installing one type of heating system to installing heat pumps, that they know there's a clear long-term business support scheme. So that they invest in training, invest in vans, invest in production, invest in whatever, and they know that that business will be long-term. Because if you're trying to decide where you're going to do, what business you're going to enter into, and you have changing rules every 6 weeks or 3 months or 6 months, it really makes a challenge. So how to create demand? Clear communication of policy from policymakers, so ensuring that we set the direction clearly and we stick to that. Clear targets and long-term planning as you have in your clean air strategy. Stable, well-governed, reliable support schemes that consumers can use effectively, that installers and companies can invest in their supply chain to deliver. We need to make sure our electricity to gas price ratio works well, and that we're clear and support the likes of zero VAT rate that we have in 9 countries for heat pumps, and dedicated funding for low-income households. And finally, just in terms of the information and skills, we need to make sure the information is there for consumers. We have a wall of misinformation around the heat pump. I'm led to believe that Poland is no different to the UK, to Ireland, to Germany, to France, to other countries that have this wall of misinformation coming maybe from foreign actors that seek to undermine the business case for the consumer confidence of heat pumps. So we need to make sure we work to correct that. And finally, to make sure we have the right number of trained installers. So my last slide, just to say from my perspective in the European Heat Pump Association, sales have been very challenging in the last year. We have initial recovery signs from many markets. The policy drivers I'll give some of those acronyms, the energy performance of buildings, the renewable energy, the energy efficiency directives, and the national energy and climate plans. So every country has signed up for this transition in their plans. They're only starting, and there's a lot of work to do to implement those. I think it's very clear that European competitiveness as a continent that imports vast percentages of its energy sources. If you go back 15 years in China, Xi Jinping, when he came to power, he said, my strategic weakness is importing energy. In 2014, he came out with a plan. Now China leads the world on solar PV production and installation, wind production and installation, cars, in terms of electric cars, production and market uptake. It's important we keep our lead in heat pumps or maintain our competitiveness in heat pumps. We've not lost yet, and I think it's important we don't. So China recognized their security weakness was around energy. Europe should do the same, and not just security, but competitiveness weakness. So for our competitiveness and our security needs, heat pump deployment. We can't reach any of our climate targets without heat pump deployment. And I think, from my perspective, having studied and participated in the energy transition for 20 years, I am absolutely convinced that every building in Europe will have their heating supplied by heat pumps, be it a small one at the back of their house or a large one in a district heating. Eventually, we will reach that transition. And the question is, do we do it on our own steam that provides all of those things like jobs and energy security, or do we wait to become the last at the end of the transition? So that's my little take for today. To maybe just switch to the next session, if I could, because it's my job to introduce the next session a little bit. In September, when I took over, I was preceded by an excellent leader in the heat pump world of Thomas Novak, who's now Vice President of Government Affairs and Public Relations in Quantum, which is a heat pump company that seeks to do something a little bit different, and I'll let Thomas explain that. And Thomas is going to talk really about the local, and his panel is going to really focus on Krakow. And as part of that, Grzegorz Jibczyk from the city of Krakow will give a little bit of an input speech to this. And he's going to talk about how Krakow is taking this challenge on the path to climate neutrality. So to lead the discussion, I'm going to hand the floor over to Thomas. So thank you very much.